Mondays again. Big Bossman told me to measure some stuff today. Something related to this newfangled USB something. Better start up the HP Infinium and get to work. Man, this thing is fancy. It's got Windows 98, all the bells and whistles. Just 2 channels, but yeah, it's great. You can save the data on the floppy disk. And you can connect to printers, and it's got that internet thingy going on. Starts up a bit slower than a cathode ray oscilloscope, but man, is it fancy. Look at that splash screen there. Okay, so it doesn't matter. And let's go to start. Run the Infinium scope. Actually, how about we do something else today? So I finally figured out how to install Doom on this thing, and it's freaking amazing. It's the shareware version that was launched in '95, and actually runs perfectly on this machine straight out of the box. The biggest deal was trying to get it onto the machine on itself, because the floppy disk is broken. I don't have another machine that has a floppy disk. I actually do, but floppy disks are too small, and I only have one floppy disk available. So this is Doom 95 running on a 90s era Hewlett-Packard Infinium oscilloscope, and it's running perfectly fine. This thing has an AMD K6 processor inside, running at 133 megahertz, 64 megabytes of RAM, and I think it even has a dedicated video card, but not entirely sure on that thing. So this is Doom Episode 1 Hangar, and I suck at Doom, but man, this game was awesome. Imagine going to work and instead of actually working, you're playing Doom on your oscilloscope. Funnily enough, HP, when they made this oscilloscope, they didn't want anybody to actually get to Windows, from what I understood. You could, if you had a keyboard, you could get into Windows, but it wasn't really like the main purpose of the oscilloscope. The main purpose was actually doing measurements. This is one of the very first oscilloscopes that had USB 2.0 or something, USB compliance testing, and it did eye diagrams. The Single Path did a video on the 1.5 gigahertz version of this oscilloscope and the 4-channel one, but they're basically the same machine underneath the hood, and that one was a bit more keen to go to Windows. For this one, I actually had to snag the start bar while it was booting and click on run, and that pauses all the other system processes, including the startup of the scope application. So you go to the startup folder, you delete the auto run for the scope file, and then you reboot. And when you reboot, you get into plain old Windows 98. How I got the data, the exe file for Doom, was a different story. So I happen to have an XP machine that's still running, and I connected both this scope and that machine to a network, and it wouldn't show up in my Windows 11 machine's network because it's too old and it uses a different, less secure internet protocol. So the Windows XP machine was able to find this, and yeah, that's how I transferred the data. If anybody's interested in how I actually got to Windows, I can make a dedicated video, or if you want me to run other old games on this machine, feel free to ask. Anyway, this scope is awesome, and I bet it's the only scope that can run the Doom of its generation on it. So if anybody wants to contradict me on that, please go for it. Thanks for watching, guys. That was awesome. Like, share, and subscribe.